Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. In this video, we are going to look at Chase's credit cards from the easiest approval end, which cards of theirs are the easiest to be approved for, to the most difficult end, which ones you're going to have the hardest time getting approved for. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So Chase is a very popular issuer, perhaps the most popular issuer in terms of like cards that people really want to get, and many people prioritize Chase as their issuer of choice for a number of reasons, including the dreaded 524 rule. So anyway, we are going to look in this video at which cards are the easier to be approved for. Oftentimes, if you have less credit history, maybe a little less income, to the more difficult to be approved for, meaning that you're going to have a little more credit history under your belt, a little higher credit score, and probably a little higher income as well when we get to that higher end. Now, Chase in general as a credit card issuer, I think is only moderately difficult. If you do have some income and some credit history, most of their cards you can get approved for, and some of them are fairly easy to be approved for even when you don't have much credit history. So when we go from easiest approval to most difficult, even when we get to the most difficult end, I don't necessarily think those are, the most difficult in terms of the cards that are on the market overall. You can get your hands on those if you have a decent income and you have some credit history under your belt. So I'm not going to rank these cards so much from the very easiest one card to the very hardest individual card. I'm going to kind of put them in tiers here. We're looking at 20 plus cards because I'm going to include the Chase branded cards, meaning things like Chase Freedom and Chase Sapphire, and then on the business end, the Chase Inc., so Chase Business and Consumer, and then also the partner cards, the mini travel cards that Chase has. So we're looking at 20 plus cards here. So let's start with the easiest card out there on the market from Chase, and that is the Chase Student Card. Now, the only thing that is sort of a hurdle here is that you have to be a student. You have to be a college student or, in a trade school or adult education, something along those lines to show that you are an actual student. You can be approved for this card pretty easily. It has a 1% reward, which is not a whole lot in today's market. There's no annual fee, very nominal $50 bonus that you can get with this card. So if you are a student, as long as you don't have any sort of adverse credit history, you haven't done anything wrong with credit cards in the past, you're probably going to get approved for the Chase Student Card if you're a student. And then the next tier up, meaning the easiest cards for the largest number of adults, are going to be the no annual fee Chase cards, including the Chase Freedom Flex, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, and then the partner cards, Amazon Visa, the 2 Disney Visa cards, and then also the Starbucks cards I would lump in here as well. None of these cards super difficult to get your hands on. If you have any sort of credit history, have a halfway decent income, you can probably be approved for them as long as you don't have adverse things on your credit report. Now, the fact that you can be approved for them doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a super high credit line. You can get credit lines as low as $500 with these cards, according to Chase. So that means that they do allow a lot of people in, but some people that don't have much of a credit history aren't going to get a very big credit line. But some good cards right there. Nice place to get started with Chase. Next up, maybe just a shade more difficult than those cards we just talked about, are the no annual fee travel cards that Chase issues for United and for Marriott. The United Gateway card, the Marriott Bonvoy Bold card, no annual fee cards, sort of the entry-level versions of those travel companies' cards, sort of a stripped-down version, not as many rewards, not as many extras, easier to get your hands on than the sort of flagship cards that do have more benefits attached to them. Next up is a Southwest Airlines consumer credit cards, as well as the IHG hotel cards. Kind of lump those cards together. A little more difficult than the other cards, only in the fact that in order to get these cards, you have to qualify for at least a $2,000 credit line, which means that's going to leave some people out if you don't have much credit history, or maybe if your income is not as high. Income is sort of an underrated factor, I think, in terms of how what your likelihood is of being approved for certain cards. So if you don't have a whole lot of income, even if your credit score is high, some cards are going to, start to decline you for their applications. And right here is maybe where that starts to happen when you're looking at cards where they're going to have at least a $2,000 credit line. They're going to want to see some income as well as a decent credit score. Now, I said I was going to include Chase Business cards, and here's where they come in for the first time. The Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, the Chase Inc. Business Cash card. Now obviously you have to be a business or have a business in order to qualify for these cards, but the sort of standard to be a business is not necessarily very high. If you have any sort of side business, not necessarily a huge conglomerate, you can probably qualify if your personal financial situation would qualify you for one of these cards. So there is a personal liability on these cards, and they are going to look at your personal income and credit history. So it's not just your business credit. These Chase business cards, as well as other Chase business cards other than their JP Morgan corporate cards, they're all going to go based on your personal information, and they are going to make you personally liable if the cards are not paid for. These cards in particular have a starting credit line of at least $3,000, so you have to be someone that on a personal level could qualify for a card with that starting credit line, which makes them maybe a little more difficult than the cards that we have talked about thus far. And then the next tier up, where the degree of difficulty is getting higher, is where many of Chase's travel cards reside. Number one being the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. If you prefer Chase's Ultimate Rewards points for more flexibility to get travel as well as other potential rewards, this would be sitting right here along with the sort of flagship cards from United, that being the United Explorer card, Marriott's Bonvoy Boundless card, the World of Hyatt credit card, and then on the business end you would have the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card, and then you'd have the Southwest business cards as well as the United business card. All of those cards start with a credit line of at least $5,000, so obviously not only would you need to have a decent credit history, but you also would need to have a decent income in order to justify getting a credit line of $5,000 or more. So Chase is going to be looking in their travel card space there for people that are going to be able to spend some money and then obviously pay those cards back as well. All right, two more cards to go. Obviously, the two most difficult of the Chase issued cards. The next one we're going to talk about is the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase's high-end sort of luxury travel card. You've got a $500 plus annual fee on this card with a lot of rewards, a lot of travel benefits and credits. This card is not for everyone, and not everyone could get it even if they wanted to. It does have a minimum starting credit line of $10,000, so obviously you have to have not only the credit history again, but you have to be someone with the income to justify Chase giving you a $10,000 credit line or more. One of the things that is nice about Chase in trying to figure out which of their cards are going to be more easy or more difficult to get is that they tell you what the minimum credit lines are going to be on pretty much all of their cards. So if they tell you the minimum credit line is $500 on a card, you can guess that that card is going to be potentially easier to get than a card that has a $10,000 minimum credit line. So that is roughly how I ranked these cards, although there's some variation based on what I know of some of these cards being easier or difficult than the others. But oftentimes I'll look at that minimum credit line, because if you are only giving out $500, you can give out a lot more cards. If you're giving out $10,000 plus, you're going to give fewer of those cards out. And then finally, the most difficult of the Chase cards, and there's no drum roll please here or anything, it's not necessarily the most coveted card, but probably the most difficult to get in terms of who it wants as a customer, is the United Club card. So the United Airlines credit card that gives you access to the United Club at airports, as well as enhanced benefits or rewards on your United purchases, first and second bag checked free, all that kind of stuff. So if you are a sort of hardcore United traveler in terms of that being the airline of choice, well then this is a card that you might desire. It has a minimum starting credit line of $15,000. So you obviously again have to have a decent credit score and you have to have decent income, or they're not going to bother approving you, because they want people that have some money to spend on United Airlines. And so they're going to be looking for someone that has some income as well as the decent credit score. Again, income is part of the equation in terms of getting approved for Chase cards or any credit cards. They would like to know that you have some money to actually do some spending for a lot of these cards. So that's why the United Club card, even though it's not the card anybody would think of as necessarily the most difficult card in the world to get, makes the sort of top of this list in degree of difficulty. So that's it. If Chase is your card issuer of choice, if you are trying to complete the Chase trifecta or Chase quadfecta, or you just like particular cards that Chase has, that is sort of a rule of thumb in terms of which cards are going to be easy to get approved for and which are going to be more difficult. Again, credit scores matter. Your income is going to matter too in terms of what Chase is going to approve you for and how much of a credit line they're going to give you. That's it. If you got any questions or you have any insight to share in terms of what cards you got with what credit score and what income, please be sure to put those in the comments section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews. We talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.